In this video, we're going to find the slope of a line passing through 2 points. So let's start with the basics. These basics are the foundations for finding the slope of a line. So let's start with the first graph over here. So this is your y coordinate, this is your x coordinate, and let's say the line passes through these 2 points. And as you see, this line rises from left to right. Whenever the line rises from left to right, that's the slope. The slope, which is represents the letter m, simply means that if the line rises from left to right, it's a positive slope. So this is something that you can use to predict your answer. And let's move on to the second graph that you should learn or memorize or understand. I usually recommend students to understand rather than memorize stuff. And let's say this line passes through these 2 points here. That's not sketched to perfection, but we will get the idea here. And whenever the line, this line it's actually falling. It's falling from left to right. So the slope m, the slope here is negative. And when it's negative, the line falls from, like I said, from left to right. And this is something that's very important to learn because it helps you predict the slope of a line. And let's move on to the next graph here. This graph over here, let's write our coordinates. It's always good to write your coordinates because sometimes in a quiz, test, or whatever you get it grade for, sometimes professors might minus points for not writing the coordinates. So make sure you practice this good habit. All right, so let's move on to let's say this point here. Let's say this line here passes through these 2 points. And whenever you see that the line is a horizontal line, simply means that the slope of this line is um, is 0. So the line is horizontal, means the slope is 0. All right, let's move on to the next graph and this graph over here. And let's write our y coordinate, y-axis, sorry, not coordinate, these are axis. And whenever the line, for this example here, for this graph, let's say this line passes through these 2 points and not sketched to perfection, but we will learn how these foundation, these basics. So it means that the slope here, m, is undefined. What does that mean? It means that um, you are divided by 0. So whenever you divide by 0, it's undefined. So the line is a vertical slope. It has a vertical slope. So let's do a quick recap. When the slope, when the slope rises from left to right, it's positive. When the slope falls from left to right, it's negative. When the slope is a horizontal line, it means 0. And when the slope is vertical, it's undefined. So these basics I really recommend you to learn it, memorize it, or understand it. So because it's very important to help you predict your answer. So make sure that your slope matches your graph. Yes, so let's move on to the next part of this video. Now let's talk about a slope formula. And this is something you should memorize or learn. And the slope formula, we also know it as the slope of a line. So learn these two meanings, slope formula or slope of a line, they mean the same. And the slope formula, as I said, means slope, and we will have change in y. This triangle here means change in y. And what is change in y? Change in y means y2 and minus y1. This is a point. And divided by change in x. So slope equal change in y divided by change in x. And what is change in x? Well, change in x is simply x2 minus x1. And something to be aware of is the slope formula is the same as this one here. So this would be the same as minus or negative y1 minus y2. You will see these formulas sometimes. Sometimes you'll be given, sometimes you will be given the formula in a test or whatsoever. So I just want to share that this formula here is the same as this previous first formula. They are the same. And then we'll have the other one, which is the same formula, which is y1 minus y2 over x divided by x1 minus x2. So these formulas are the same. So just learn them or understand them because it doesn't matter which order you subtract. It doesn't matter as long as you are consistent with the same with the coordinates. Okay, for example, see over here y2 yx divided by y2 divided by x2, and the same here, look, x1 x x1 y1 x1 over here y1 x1. So make sure you as long as you follow the order, it doesn't really matter. So be consistent with the coordinates. Now that we understand the graphs, now that we understand the slope formula, it's now for us to practice finding the slope of a line passing through 2 points. So let's work on some examples. So all right, let's go ahead and plot the points and find the slope. This is our first example here. These coordinates 3 and -4 and 5 and 2. Right, so the first thing we need to do is plot the points. Let's plot the points using a graph. And this is the y-axis here. This is the x-axis. And let's plot the first point. So let's start with by identifying the coordinates, the changes in y and the changes in x. So this one over here is x1. We'll have y1. This one will be x2, y2. All right, so now let's work on the first coordinate. And we have 3 moving to the right. This is the x-axis, so we move 3 to the right. So 1, 2, 3 is this one here. And then this is -4, so we move 4 down because it's negative axis, negative y-axis. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. This is -4, so it's around here, right there. Right. This is the first point, so let's name this point here. Always name your points, guys, because keeps your work organized and you know what is going on with your graph. Now let's plot the next point, which is 5 at the x-axis. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here, and then 2 up. 1, 2. Let's plot this here, around right here. All right. So let me see if I can make this slope pass through these two lines. All right, so here we have it, more or less. It's going through there. It's not perfect, but around there. Right. So this is the slope. So now we know our slope, so we can predict what the slope will be with. Well, in this case here, as you see, the slope rises from left to right. So whenever the slope rises from left to right, you know that the slope over here will be a positive. So let's go ahead and find the slope. How much, what is the slope? What number are we getting? We know we're getting a positive. So that's why knowing these basics from the beginning, it helps us get the correct answer. So what is the slope formula? Let's go on and use the slope formula to find the answer, which is m equal change in y divided by change in x. And change in y is y2 minus y1, and change in x is x2 minus x1. Now we can go ahead and substitute these within the numbers. So y2 is over here, which is 2. Put them into parentheses. Whenever you put them into parentheses, I will really recommend you to put the numbers into parentheses. This way we'll avoid you making mistakes, especially when we deal with negative numbers. For example, here we have -4. So it's minus and then -4 will be in the parentheses. You see, looks organized and makes you see what is going on. And x2, which is 5, and x1, which is 3. Right, so next, let's go ahead and you see over here we have a negative and a negative. That's a positive, so that will be 2 plus 4. And now we have 5 minus 3, which will be 2. And over here, let's add 2 plus 4, which will be 6 divided by 2. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. So our coordinate, which is our slope, which is m, will be 3 over 1. I will put it 3 over 1 because if you want to graph and make sure sometimes you want to graph, it's because this we know it as a rise and this we know it as a run. And what does that mean? It means that, for example, you see I will end up in this slope right now. Let me show you. So 3 rise, 1 run. So up, we always move up and right or down and right. So let's see over here. Let me show you. 1, 2, 3. Let's move to the left, to the right. I mean 1. Let's go up again. 1, 2, 3, and 1. Is it correct? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. And then let's go 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. Eventually we will end up in this slope. So as you see, the slope is positive, so it matches with our graph here. So I'll be working on some more examples in the future, so stick around and let's learn together. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next lesson.